Alrighty, for today's Blender tutorial, we are going to be creating this little sushi plate with some chopsticks in Blender. The first thing we want to do is open up the Blender application by searching for it. Once we are in Blender, if you have any pop-ups over the school holidays, just click OK, and you want to find this page here. And the first thing we're going to do is we are just going to create a general file. Cool. We're going to use the default cube for the purpose of this tutorial. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're just going to move the camera so that we are happy with how it's looking. We're then going to press Tab and then the number 3. And that will allow us to select the different faces of this cube. You can also click up the top left here if the numbers aren't working for you for some reason. Once you have the faces selected, we are going to press the key I and select this top face. And that should create this effect for you. And we're just going to drag in slightly like so. Once you have your shape looking something like this, we are then going to press E, and that's going to allow us to extrude, and we are going to drag it down slightly, like so. Then we are going to press I again, drag it in slightly, and then E again to drag it down like so. So you should have something looking a little bit like this. And again, remember, if you aren't happy with how your shape is looking, you can just press Command Z to undo any actions. So I to come in, E to go down, I in, and then E down once again. Once you are here, we are going to press the Tab key again, and that will get us out of edit mode. And we are going to apply a modifier to this shape to soften the edges. Now, modifier is a new tool. We haven't used it yet. It exists over here. You just click this little spanner icon and it opens up the modifier properties. Make sure you have your cube selected. And the modifier we're looking for is under generate, and it's called bevel. So you just want to left click both of those. And then you will see that it makes a change to your shape like you can see here. It makes our edges not so sharp. It softens them. We're going to leave the values as is, but if you want to, you can have a look at seeing what changing those will do to your shape. For example, more segments probably going to make it smoother. Changing the angle will do different things to it as well. But we'll leave it at 1, and we'll leave the angle at 30. You need to click this little drop down here to actually apply the modifier, so make sure you do that before ending this part of the tutorial. So this is what we are looking for. Cool. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to open up this Adobe Colors color scheme, because we are going to use these colors in our tutorial today. And we're going to add all of those now. So the first one we're going to add is the green. So we're just going to copy the hex value, which is the numbers at the bottom there. Go over to Blender, come down to Material, and then paste that into there like so. You'll see that the color hasn't been applied to the shape, and that is because we're only in the solid view. So don't worry about that for now. We are going to call the green color, I'm just going to call it seaweed. We're then going to click the plus here. We're going to go new, and we are going to add the next color, which is going to be this pink here. Same again. Command V to paste. Let's just call that pink. Again, you just double click to rename. Press plus again. We are not going to use the color scheme for this one. This one's just going to be white. So we just leave everything as is. We are then going to add either of these oranges. I'll leave it up to you which one you want to choose. I'm going to go with this softer one here. And we'll call that orange. And then we are going to add this brown. Cool. You will now see if you press Z and go to material preview, it should be the green color, as that is the top shade on here, and that's what we applied at the start. If that hasn't happened for you, you can just click the shape and click the color there, or press tab, press A, and then click assign. Cool. We are now going to do tab again to get back into edit mode. We're going to press 3 again, and we're going to select this top face here. We're going to right click it, and we're going to click subdivide, and that will create 4 squares like you can see there. We're going to select one of these faces. It doesn't really matter which one. We're going to press E, and we're just going to raise it slightly like so. We are now going to add the colors to this shape. So we're going to need to zoom in, and we're going to need to select a lot of different faces to do this, but we'll start with the inside. So these 3 squares here are going to be your pink color or your orange color. I will leave it up to you. I'm going to make it pink for the purpose of this tutorial. So you just select those faces and you press shift to select more than one, and then you click assign when you are happy. This one here is going to be orange. So you're going to do the same again, hold shift, select 1, 2, 3, and we'll do that one as well. And we'll do that one as well. And they are going to be orange. And then all of these top faces here, we want to be white. So we're going to once you have all of those selected, you are going to select your white, click assign, and then you'll see if you have missed any faces like I have done here, all you need to do is click on them, click the color that you want it to change to, and then click assign. Same with here. Whoops. Cool. So this is the aesthetic we're going for, and if you press tab, you'll see that you get this sort of low poly sushi look happening here. I think I'm going to change these top faces to be green, completely optional if you wish to do that, just because I think that will give it a nicer finish. There we go. Cool, so this is what we are going for. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply another modifier, and that will just create like duplicates of this object. So we're going to select it, make sure that you have pressed tab so you're out of edit mode, so it should look like this. Then you're going to click the spanner here again, and we are going to go to generate again, and we are going to apply an array modifier. We're going to leave the account at 3. I want you to make your X offset 1.1. And then once you have your shape looking like that, click the little drop down arrow here and click apply. And then we're going to do the same again for the lengthways. So we're going to go add modifier, generate array. It will only be 2 this time. And rather than our X, it will be our Y. So the X is going to be 0 and the Y is going to be 1.1. And you'll see that you have 6 little bits of sushi now. Remember to click apply if you are happy with how that is looking. Cool. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate all of these objects. So right now they are like one whole part, as in I can't move an individual piece on its own. So to do that, you just press tab first, then A, and then P, and then you want to separate by loose parts. Now if you press tab again, you will see that each of these objects is individual, and it's no longer, if you try and move it, no longer moves as one whole body. And the reason we are going to do this is because I would like you to rotate some of these pieces so that it doesn't look so uniform. So we're just going to rotate this one. Like 90 degrees is good. So something like that. And you can pick whatever other one you would like to rotate, but you'll see that if I try to rotate it like this, it moves wrong. It doesn't really move how we would like. So all you need to do to fix that is right click, go set origin, and then come down to the center of mass. And now you'll see that it's in the center. Cool. So I want you to rotate one or two of those so that you have it looking something like that. The next thing we are going to do is create our plate. So we're going to press Shift A, and we are going to create a cube. We're going to squish that cube down by using the scale tool over on the left here. And then we are going to resize it so it is somewhat bigger than the sushi, just like you would have it on a plate. So that's sort of what we're going for. Move it somewhere in the middle. And then we are going to press tab again, I again, and we are going to create the same effect like we did at the start of the tutorial. So tab to get into edit mode, 3 to select the top face, and then I. Tab to get into edit mode, 3 to select the top face, and then I to create this little effect. You're going to press E and sink it down a little. And then you're going to press tab, and you're going to apply the white color that you made earlier in the tutorial. If it's gone like it has for me, just create it again, and it will be that default color, like there. We now want to move this into position, so just use the move tool over on the left here, move it down, like so. And then we are just going to extrude one edge, which is this front one, to create space for our chopsticks. So we're going to press tab again, 3, select this E, and drag out that front part there like so. Cool. So the last thing, and probably the easiest thing to do, is going to be the chopsticks. So again, we're going to press Shift A to create a new mesh. We're going to create a cube. We are going to scale down the cube again. So you can just press S to do it quickly. Get it roughly to the thickness of a chopstick, and then just scale out that axis there until you get the rough size that you are looking for, like I have done here. Cool. You're then, just like you move the plate, you are going to move that into a position that you are happy with it. So for me, that's about there. And then you are going to jump back to Adobe Color, grab this shade of brown, add it as a new color, and it should be applied to that object. Cool. Once you have your chopstick, you are going to duplicate it. To do that, you just press Shift D. And then it's the same again. It's just moving it into position like so. Cool. So that is it for the modeling. The last thing we're going to do is some lighting. And we're also going to play around with the camera. So over on the right here, you will have a light. I want you to press X to delete that light. And then I want you to press Z and go into rendered view. Cool, we're going to create 3 area lights to light this scene, just like you would if you were filming something. We're going to press Shift A, and we're going to come down to light, and we're going to select area light. We're going to move it to the back of the scene, and then we're going to grab this little yellow point here, and we're going to point the light sort of like that at a 45 degree at the object, and then we're going to up the power to about 300 and see how that looks. Cool. I think if we go a little bit higher, change the angle a little bit more, let's try 450. Cool, that's enough for that side. We're going to do the same again, Shift A, light, area light, and we're going to move it to the other side. Do the same value, about 400. See how that looks. Just going to move it a little bit closer and a little bit higher. So now the scene is lit from the back. We just need to light it from the front. Shift A again, light, area. We're going to move it to the front, point it to the front, and up the power until we feel the rest of the scene is lit. Cool, so I think that looks okay. If you are struggling to do this 3-point lighting, another thing you can do is you can just press Shift A and just create a sun, and that will just light the whole scene, like you can see there. Cool, the last thing we're going to do is move the camera. So if you click the camera, which is this thing here, and then go View, and then go Cameras, set active object as camera, you will see the camera viewpoint. What we are going to do is we are going to move this into a position that we like. So the first thing I want to do is maybe down the focal length to about 30 or 35. And then we are going to click this little orange panel here that says object, and we are just going to play around with the location like I'm doing here, until you get it essentially how you like it. So for me, I think that's pretty good. If you click back to the data properties, you can also play around with the tilt of the camera. So I'm going to tilt it down slightly. But something like this is what we are going for. Again, you can always change the depth of field or the focal length, to make it wider. Once we're here, we're going to go render image, have a little look. I'm pretty happy with that. If you're happy with yours, all you need to do is go image and save as, and then save it to your desktop. And obviously you are going to call it Sushi. Save image as, Check your desktop. And there it is. Cool. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope this wasn't too painful first week back for term 2.